Okay. You should be able to see
Yep.
my screen. We're on the dashboard right now.
And I'm in
Yes,
also,
I
Paul.
do.
Thank you.
Great. Great.
Thanks.
All right. Great. We'll get started. Kim, I saw that you just joined as well. Welcome. And yeah, for everyone who just joined, if you have questions during the training, feel free to ask them, and we'll get started. All right. So you all should be seeing the Creative Vitality Suite dashboard, and I'm guessing everyone knows about Creative Vitality Suite, but I'll just start off with just a quick background. Wet Staff has been doing creative economy studies since the 1980s. It was in 2001 in which we developed a Creative Vitality Index, basically an index to measure creative concentration within creative industries and creative occupations. We were working with City of Seattle, the Washington Arts Commission, and Hubert Research to develop that Creative Vitality Index. And that index, again, included various different indicators such as creative industries, creative occupation sale, or creative industry sales, creative occupation jobs, and nonprofit revenues. So kind of a broad look at the creative economy. It wasn't until 2014 in which we released the Creative Vitality Suite, which we're looking at today, which houses the CVI index value, but it provides more data in a disaggregated form to allow you to really dive deep down into what's happening in the creative sector within your local area. The Creative Vitality Suite has data at the state level, metropolitan statistical area, county, and zip code level. And so the county, zip code, MSAs, those are probably going to be the levels that you all are going to be most interested at. And as we kind of dig down into this, one thing to keep in mind is all the data comes from, most of the data, majority of it comes from governmental sources like the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the BEA. And all these governmental sources typically gather information at the state, metropolitan, and county level. So when we're providing data at the zip code level, the further lower levels, more detail you go, there's often, data becomes less available, put it that way. And the more detailed you get, again, the less data there is going to be to kind of describe that particular area. So as we go down into zip codes, as we'll see in a little bit, again, there's just going to be less information there. And so those are some things that you'll kind of have to work through, especially if you're looking at regions at the zip code level. One thing to also keep in mind is since you all are representing creative districts, our lowest level of region is zip code. And so that is often much bigger than an actual creative district, area. But, when my suggestion is when you use this tool, think about how, it might not represent, this is the exact jobs within my district, but it allows you to identify or explore the creative activity in which the district exists within, the economy in which the creative district exists within. So there are many ways to kind of support facts that the creative district is impacting the economy. It's providing, impacting the economy, is a contributor to the economy within the zip code and within this larger kind of metropolitan or county region. Right? Great. So, all right, we'll kind of start talking about the tool. Here's the dashboard. And to kind of orient yourself, we have the navigation along the top with 4 kind of major areas in the tool. The top right corner is going to be the region that we're currently looking at, as well as the year. So right now we're looking at Greeley, Colorado, MSA, and we're looking at the year 2017. And then on the dashboard, it's going to give you just high-level details about the particular region. So in this case, Greeley, the number of creative jobs, creative industry earnings, industry sales, and nonprofit revenues. At the bottom are some population demographics, how many people live within the MSA area, what's the gender and age breakdown. And then on the right-hand side is that CVI value, which we kind of talked about was kind of the first inception of our creative economy tool. Now, one major thing to think about when you come into this tool, there are three factors filters or factors that dictate what kind of data displays on the dashboard and throughout the tool. It's going to be your region, right? So the Greeley, Colorado MSA is going to be the year that you're looking at. And then it's also going to be your data settings. And in this particular case, data settings are a couple different things, but it basically means the actual industry codes, industries, the occupation codes, and the employment types, or on the screen here, it's called class of workers, that kind of contribute to the data that you see throughout the site. So we'll dive into that just a little bit, but I first want to kind of start you off with that region and the year. And to make edits, what you're going to do is click the link here, edit, in the top right corner. Right? And I believe all of you have access to the same permissions that the Colorado Creative Industries has. So you have access to this is my account, but you have access to the state of Colorado, all the metropolitan statistical areas, all the counties and zip codes within Colorado. So you have the ability to not only look at the region around your creative district, but you also have the ability to look across the county border or at other regions within Colorado to see, to make comparisons. So when you go into the region selection area, if your account has been used a few times, you're going to have a drop down here called Save Regions, which will have all the regions you've created prior to your session. And there's also a drop down to the right that allows you to control which year you want to look at. Down below is where you actually select your regions that you want. So for example, if we're creating a new region, there's a little toolbar here on the map. And if you click the new region drop down, you can create a region, a state region, a zip code region, a county, or an MSA. So say we wanted to create an MSA. Say we wanted to create an MSA for Longmont. We would create a new region. It basically just creates a blank region. You'll know it's blank because in this box here, there's nothing here. But as we select stuff, it will display in this area. And you can use the map to zoom down and select the region you want. But I often actually use the search a little bit more. And on the right-hand side, there's a map toggle and a search toggle. So today, we're just going to use the search toggle to kind of drive down. And in the search toggle, you can search using your search bar to the right. And there's also a drop-down to the left that allows you to select the states that you have access to, in this case, Colorado. And here we can select, I think we selected MSA. Here we can select, an MSA that we want to look at. So say, for example, we wanted to do Colorado Springs. You select Colorado Springs and you click the little add button here, and it adds that region to this selected area. So what we're kind of doing right now is we are selecting the region that we want to analyze in the system. Once you select that region, I always recommend naming it. So the system doesn't automatically name it. It just automatically gives this generic name called new MSA region or new county region. If you click the edit name button, you can name it. So in this case, you would say Colorado Springs MSA. And then also from here, you can select the year that you want to look at. So if you selected the year, then once you navigate back to any one of these pages, you can click the X button here, or the dashboard, or just navigate away. The system will save that information and will update all the data throughout the site for the region that we just selected. So in this case, Colorado. And as I mentioned, now all the data, everything in the tool is going to be related to Colorado Springs MSA for the year 2017. So here on the dashboard, we're seeing about roughly 20,000 creative jobs and roughly $857 million in creative industry earnings. Now, the question you're probably all thinking, so what industries, what occupations does these include? And that kind of takes us right back to that third setting that dictates what type of data you're seeing is that data setting, right? So we'll go to the data settings. One thing to keep in mind is that the data setting options here are only available on the dashboard. We're looking to change that so that it's kind of available throughout the entire site. But right now, if you need to change the data settings, you go to the dashboard and click on the link above the far right-hand sidebar here. The first tab in data settings is going to be your creative industries. Again, this is going to be industries that you would like to select to kind of define your creative economy within your local region. Now, I think for reporting purposes, the Colorado Creative Districts or Creative Industries has a specific definition that you all should use, and I think that's just the default definition. So if you've never gone in here and changed anything, it's probably set to what the CCI would like you to use. But I would definitely follow up with CCI on that just to double check your industries here. I have some specific industry codes selected just to kind of give you a heads up. We've often marketed this tool as being your tool for defining your own creative district, but we're really kind of moving towards doing some of our own creative economy research here. And so I am working with the team here to kind of develop our own creative economy definition. And we're kind of going through and looking at all of these different creative industries and kind of deciding which ones, which ones are considered core and supplemental to the creative industries, and which ones are kind of more specialty type industries. So, for example, we have things like glass and glazing contractors, architectural services, landscape architectural services, media representatives. There's a lot of industries in here. I think we have 94-ish, yeah, somewhere around there. So we have a lot of industries to select from to kind of think about whether or not that is a creative industry that you would like to include in your definition. There are some, such as these industry codes under 31 here, that fit more into culinary arts. So we're partnered with Louisiana Division of Art Museums, I believe, the state arts agency there in Louisiana, and they really they support culinary arts and think that's a major contributor to their economy. So we worked with them to add these types of codes. Now, it's not going to be codes that everyone wants to use, but they're available if you want to explore those particular types. So there's a lot here, but it definitely gives you the flexibility to select industries again that you believe fit within your creative economy. Any questions so far? Okay. So in terms of the data, the way I like to think about it is creative industries, creative occupations. Creative industries are going to be your businesses, and these are going to be your businesses that have creative services or creative goods, and then you're going to have your creative occupations, and these are going to be people who have creative type jobs, right? So these are going to be more people oriented, and think people such as who hold jobs such as fashion designers, graphic designers, and architects, historians, musicians, dancers, and performers. So all of them are within the creative occupations area. And it's very similar to creative industries. It's the flexibility of turning these on and off. You can just select the checkbox and turn off entire groups or just one by one. In some cases, I have in this particular definition, I have removed some. For example, I'm not including computer programmers and software developers and web developers. In some cases, if you're making a big statement about the broader creative economy, then you might have the case for including occupations such as computer programmers and software developers. But say, for example, you are, talking specifically to, your legislature about, or people within the legislature about, what is the impact of arts and culture? Now you're getting a little bit more narrow in your focus, and so you'll probably want to select industries and occupations that have more of an arts and culture focus. This allows you to, select any of the creative occupations. So we'll jump back to class of workers, but for now, let's close the data settings tab and kind of take a look at the actual data itself. All right, so Colorado Springs MSN, about 20,000 jobs. We talked about the dashboard. Within the reporting section, I'll jump to reporting because it's kind of exciting and it provides kind of a really useful report that you can download from the tool. And it's very similar to the dashboard. It just has a little bit more information. So the report, called the snapshot report, but again, it's based off of what region, what year you have access to, what data settings you have set, and it's going to break out all of your creative economy data in kind of 4 sections within a single page report. So it has your creative vitality index at the top with some trending information about, where trending information on your creative vitality index, has information on your creative jobs, the total number of creative jobs, as well as the top 5 occupations that are contributing the most jobs to the Colorado Springs area. So in this case, there's 2,200 photographers and 1,600 musicians and singers, 1,200 writers and authors. And then the next section is going to be about your creative industries. And it's going to talk about your earnings, how much people make within the creative industries. And then also it's going to provide the top performing creative industries in that area. And then the very bottom one is going to be your cultural nonprofit revenue. These are going to be your nonprofit arts and culture organizations that we're all very familiar with and that we work with day to day. And this is the amount of income and revenue that the nonprofit art generates. So a couple of things to keep in mind as we are continuing to talk about this data. Starting from the bottom with the nonprofit cultural revenues, there are some limitations to the data for nonprofit revenues. That data comes from the Internal Revenue Service, so the IRS, and it's public information. We go through the process of actually all nonprofits report their income. Not all, but a majority of nonprofits report their income to the IRS. The process that the CVSuite goes through is identifies which ones are arts and culture organizations, and we utilize a system called NTEE codes, National Taxonomy of Exempt Entities, which was generated by NCCS, I think. And there were 44 different nonprofit codes that we selected that kind of resonate with arts and culture. So we use those to basically pull out that information and provide that here, this sum here. A couple things to keep in mind is that only organizations with a budget greater than $50,000 are required to submit their taxes to the IRS. And so there's a potential for smaller organizations are not going to be represented within this nonprofit value here. So that's something to keep in mind, as you think about the nonprofits within your local region, whether or not they have budgets that are greater than 50,000, and whether or not they might be represented in this data. Now, it's always we're always trying to push, not push, but smaller nonprofits recognize the importance of tracking their incomes and budgets and finances. So they do sometimes will submit their income, even though they have smaller budgets than 50,000. So the data does not exclusively exclude, smaller nonprofits, but it will contain some, but it's not going to contain all small nonprofit organizations. And the last thing I wanted to talk about in regards to the report and your creative industries data is on the right-hand side, there's two settings here. There's industry earnings and industry sales. And I wanted to just point out the differences between those two metrics. Earnings is going to be what people make within the creative businesses and creative industries. It's the income that they bring home. And the reason why we have this, it's a more conservative dollar amount value that measures the creative industries. But the reason we have include the creative or industry earnings is because there's a stronger correlation with earnings and the ability for that dollar amount to have a strong impact within that local economy, because people bring home their earnings and they will often spend their income on monthly necessities such as mortgages, car payments, and food and health, and those things will kind of all go back within the local economy. Now with sales is going to be the revenue that's generated by these creative businesses. But often these creative businesses will need to pay contractors and manufacturers and all these other third parties. And so even though they may be generating a large amount of income, often that money is leaving the local economy to be paid for outside party and third party services. And so industry sales will more often than not, be really much higher than the earnings values. And so they're both there so that you can kind of compare and contrast the two. But if you did want, industry sales to display on the report, you would select the radio button here, and then you can click create a PDF, and it will generate that report, and then allow you to download it. So here on the right hand, or here on the left-hand side, we can see this is industry sales, and there's $3 billion in creative industries revenue. And I kind of use sales and revenue loosely here, but they're both the same thing. It's just the income that these businesses. All right. Any questions so far? No? All right. If you think of anything, just let me know. All right. So we'll kind of dive right down into the data. And as I was mentioning before, the data is dictated by those data settings that we have set in the tool. And there's going to be some tabs here, kind of look pretty light on my screen. Hopefully they look, you can see them on your screen. But there's occupation tab, there's an industry tab, granting, nonprofit, and demographic. And so we'll quickly kind of go through each one of these and kind of talk about it. So the occupations data, as we mentioned, that's going to be your creative occupations, the actual workers themselves. As we can see, cartographers, anthropologists, historians, curators, artists. There's a fine artist section here. So if you wanted to look directly at artists, those fine artists within your region, you have that ability. 562 fine artist jobs within 2017 for Colorado Springs. You can select the column headings to kind of sort these in interesting ways. See which creative occupations are contributing the highest amount. See which ones are contributing the lowest. You can also see the percent change within the year as well. So there's some really interesting things that stories that you can pull out of the data. And often, when I would recommend, as you use the tool, think about what projects you're working on. Are you working with artists right now? Are you working with, your cultural nonprofits because you're working on a particular grant? Think about a question and then use that question to kind of facilitate your analysis within this tool to kind of find more information about it. And I found that that's really the easiest way for me to kind of get oriented with the tool as well as with the data. in addition to the data that we see on the screen, there's also a download option. And the download Excel option provides more information. So keep this in mind. It has information on median hourly earnings and salary wages. It has information on location quotient. Location quotient might be a new term for you, but the location quotient, what that means is it's a measurement for the concentration of a particular occupation within the local region, so within Colorado Springs. So you could, for example, let's see if I can pull it up here. Basically, how it works is location quotient is basically a comparison metric against the United States. And so it'll just tell you whether or not, if your value is greater than 1, then it means you have a higher concentration of that particular occupation group than the United States or than the nation. If it's lower than 1, that means you have a lower concentration. And it's a great way to identify what occupations are perhaps unique to your particular region in comparison to the nation.
Can I have a quick question?
Yeah.
I just got mesmerized by the numbers on the screen at the moment. On radio operators, it shows 3.3 no change, but it says it went down 7%. Could you illuminate?
Yes. So the data that comes to us in a decimal format, and it's a decimal format because, for example, it could possibly be like 3.01221, and then a change in 2017 to 3.25, something like that. The data that comes to us is modeled, right? So it utilizes multiple different economic data streams to create a model on the number of radio operators that are within the Colorado Springs region. So the negative 7.4% change that you're seeing there is kind of based. So the numbers you're seeing here are rounded, and so the percent change you're seeing here is based on that decimal value.
So the change, there is a change, but it's 4 decimal places out.
Yeah, exactly. So when
I can see that could be a problem in presenting this to the public, where you have to explain that. That's just going to be kind of a zoo.
Right.
Okay.
Right. My recommendation in this particular case, so we're giving you the accurate data values here. My recommendation in that particular case would probably just to round out everything. So in this particular case, I probably would recalculate that percent change, which in this case would give you a 0 value.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. If we're to look at the actual, if we were to look at the actual downloaded data, it would be in a decimal point value, and so that would make a little bit more sense. Thanks for pointing that out, though. It is something I'm currently always looking for to kind of clean up the way in which the data is presented to make it more understandable. Other things to keep in mind are, especially with like radio operators, such as this example here, when values, because this data is modeled, you might think to yourself, wow, we know that there are 4 radio operators in the Colorado Springs area. You have to kind of keep in mind that this data is modeled. It's going to be the most accurate estimate of the number of jobs, and the number of creative activity that's happening in the area. But it's not going to be accurate down to like a census level, where people are counting the number of jobs in every single business, going doorstep to doorstep. So when jobs get down to this 3 level and very, very small, you always have to kind of consider that, okay, there's a couple jobs in radio operators, but they're not going to have a significant impact on the entire jobs contributed to the creative economy Colorado. The industry data also on the industry data tab is very similar to the occupations. It's going to list all of your industries, and you can sort them by clicking on the column heading. So you can see again which ones contribute the most jobs: independent artists, writers, and performers, software publishers, wire telecommunication carriers. You can also see the top earnings performers as well. So this again allows you to really kind of start thinking about, what types of dollars are being generated within creative industries area. Some other interesting things to look at here are earnings per job. So we talked about salaries earlier. So these are going to be your earnings per job across the entire industry, right? And so you can see which ones are making the most. Looks like Colorado Springs has a motion picture and video industry within that area that makes a high amount of dollars, but there's only two jobs kind of contributing to that earnings value. Right, so there's just a lot of information that you can kind of glean off of this, but kind of sorting it and kind of looking at some of the top performers, low performers. You kind of gain an understanding on what industries have been growing over time. In this particular data here, industries, it's only showing data for 2017. And so I wanted to point out, if you want to measure change right now in the tool, what you'll have to do is you will have to go back 3 years by going to your data settings here and changing the year to 2014, pulling that information, and then doing that percent change calculation to kind of calculate that growth. As of right now, for the industry data, it only displays the current year that you're looking at. And then there's also a tab here that allows you to look at those sales figures as well within the data. CVSuite does have granting data, but it's only historical information, so I don't have any data for 2017. We only have data from, I believe, 2011 to 2015. So keep that in mind. We are looking for other granting data sources, but right now it's only for those historical years. And the granting data comes from NASA and the NEA, and it's specifically the state arts agency grants that are reported to the NEA through partnership, through regional partnership and partnership grant opportunity. So it's a kind of it's limited in the instance that it's data that's reported, and it may not represent all the grants that state arts agency distributes, because they're not obligated to report all their grant activity to the NEA and NASA. So keep that in mind. And then we have the nonprofit revenues, which we talked about earlier. And the nonprofit revenues shows you the revenues broken out by different types. So in this case, program revenues, contribution and gifts, and total revenues. There's a little bit more information again in the data download. I would recommend, if you start digging down, to kind of use that download and look at the information that's provided within there. And then you also have the ability to look at the nonprofit data by type. So we talked about those NTEE codes earlier. So here you can see the number of nonprofit organizations within Colorado Springs underneath each one of these different nonprofit categories, such as museum, theater, fair, film, and video. And again, it also allows you to, identify gaps, within your nonprofit sector. Which nonprofits are maybe not represented here in the data. So here, it says there's only one dance nonprofit organization. I'm sure there's more, but perhaps those, it opens up the question, perhaps those dance companies are smaller nonprofits with the budget smaller than 50,000. So just some things to consider here. We also, it's not it's not available within CVSuite, but it is available if you request it. We have this data by organization as well. So if you are interested in looking at this data by organization, let me know, and I would be more than happy to send over that information to you for the current year. And then one other interesting data point that we have in here that makes CVSuite a lot different than other data providers in the art is our demographic information. There is one limitation to this, in that we don't have that data at a zip code level. Our current data partner is working to get that information, but as I mentioned at the very beginning, the more detailed you go, the harder it is to find that information and to accurately represent, what that particular demographic group or region might be. So the demographic data is only available at the state, MSA, county level, and zip codes may come in. So in terms of the data here, as you can see, there's 3 different demographic groups that you can look at: race and ethnicity, gender, and age. And in the table itself, there's a drop down that allows you to kind of see various different data types. So region in this particular case here, it needs to be renamed, but region basically means population. So it's the population within the region that we're looking at, Colorado Springs. And then if you look at occupations or industries, we'll look at occupation, you're going to be looking at the number of jobs by this demographic group, right? So age here. And so you can kind of see the number of jobs within each one of these demographic groups. There's also a toggle here that allows you to look at percentages, because sometimes if you're looking at raw job numbers, it doesn't mean much unless you want to kind of compare the different groups together. So you can kind of see not the growth, but the distribution of these demographic groups across the occupational jobs. And it's broken down as a total, and then as well as each individual occupation. A lot of interesting stuff here. So if you're, this data is going to be really interesting if you are pursuing initiatives in equity and diversity. If you want to talk about, diversity in your museum industries or something like that, you have the ability to kind of look up that information here within the Creative Vitality.
Are there plans to initiatives or a roadmap to expand it to psychographics?
Not right now. No, not right now.
Okay, just wanted to know.
And again, all this information as well is available for download. The last, we have about 15 more minutes. The last area here within the Creative Vitality Suite is going to be your CBI value. So everything we've seen so far, we saw the dashboard, the reporting, snapshot report, and then all of the disaggregated data in the data section. The CBI value is that index value, which was kind of the first idea about measuring the creative economy. And the Creative Vitality Index, what it is it's a comparison. It's a comparison tool that allows you to compare your region to another region. So in this case, by default, it's comparing yourself to the United States, the very bottom here. And what it does is it just provides you some trending information on some of the creative activity that's happening within Colorado Springs compared to the United States. How it works is it uses a region such as a base region, so we'll say United States here, and it's similar to a location quotient. If your value is less than 1, there is less creative concentration in that particular area than the United States. If it's greater than 1, that means there's a greater concentration of creative activity in that area. The index includes a number of indicators that kind of go into it, and they're available here in the breakdown. So if you click on this blue heading here, it opens up this CVSuite breakdown or CVI breakdown and kind of shows you the jobs and the revenues and sales amounts that kind of go into the actual index value itself. If you click on one of these headings here, it'll give you even more information about what that breakdown is. So the CVI value includes, 40% creative occupation jobs, 40% industry sales, and 20% nonprofit revenue. And so it'll show you all the different creative occupations that are selected here. Keep in mind that the Creative Vitality Index is a proprietary index, and it's the only area in the site that is not updated by those data settings, by those industry codes and occupation codes that we selected at the beginning of this training. So it uses a very specific number of creative occupations and industries, and the reason for that is just to make it consistent across years, so that you can measure trends across years. But it's also important to know, because sometimes we've heard from clients that perhaps these the CVI values doesn't represent their creative economy, and so those are some things that you should keep in mind, that it has a very set specific number of creative occupations and industries that are used within here. So keep that in mind. I think this is really helpful, again, for starting the conversation, thinking about comparing your region to another region. And then it really kind of leads me over to the data section to really kind of dig down into the actual industries and occupations that kind of make up my local economy. What else about this? Yeah, I mean, it uses a lot of indicators to kind of create that value. And it's also based on population. So it's a per capita type index. So again, that kind of brings it back to concentration. When I say concentration, I'm thinking about per capita and the number of dollars, the number of jobs per the population within that region. And that's how it allows us to kind of compare two regions to each other, because it basically sums everything up within into a kind of a per capita value. And the trending information is all available again in the downloads here on this page. So all the pages that you see here in the site has this download icon here, which allows you to download the data. Other things to note: you all have access to our user's guide, which is within the tool as well as available at usersguide.cvsuite.org. And in the user's guide, we created a new section called Getting Started, which basically takes you all through exactly what we discussed today. It takes you through how to create a region, how to customize your data, or what are some of the high-level data that's on the dashboard, what are some of the things that you can say about your region and the data within the snapshot report. So basically kind of takes you through on a 6-part step on how to get oriented within the tool. So if you can't get into the CVSuite following this training today and within the next couple of weeks, you always can lean back on this user guide to kind of get yourself up and running and with how to use the CVSuite, which we talked about. Great. Anybody else have questions? So we're coming up on 10 minutes to the hour. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
No,
I'm wondering. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm wondering if there is a method to upload data from especially rural communities, because we fall into that less than 50,000 population, less than $50,000 budgets, that sort of thing. And oftentimes we don't have accurate numbers coming in. But I've been working with our city to start collecting data that is important to us, and it follows a lot of these guidelines. But is there a way to give you that data that CVSuite doesn't currently have for us.
Right. I wish there was, but not at this time. Not at this time.
Okay.
No. But definitely something that we are considering in the future. It's on our project roadmap. But definitely, yeah, it's not. We're not quite there yet.
Okay.
Yep. Anybody else? All right. Great. Well, I hope this was informative for you all. And I would recommend just going in and taking a look at the information. Setting up a region if you haven't already done so. Setting up. I would set up 3 different regions. I would set up an MSA for the area that you're in if you are within an MSA metropolitan statistical area. I would also set up a county for the district that you're in. Sometimes the MSA and the county are the same because it's kind of one cohesive economic area. And then I would also set up, identify the zip code or zip codes that your district might be in and create a region for that. Those are kind of be the first places I would start. I would definitely compare, the county data versus the zip code data. And, that really, for me, if I was kind of in your shoes, I would look at that to kind of see what the difference there is between that zip code and that county. And then I would think about, your district region and within that zip code itself to kind of think about, okay, are there other cities that might be contributing to within the region or within that zip code, within that county, that might be contributing to this creative economy? And really kind of start thinking about which cities are contributing to this. And that really just will kind of help inform how much do you think the creative district is contributing, against all those all the information that you pull. And it just really kind of breaks down exactly how much your district is contributing, basically. I think that would be helpful for me and for you. Well, another suggestion I have is look at those creative industries and creative occupation codes and work with CCI and work with Christy there to identify which ones you should be using. I think they have specific ones that they would like you to report on, but feel free to turn them on and off and explore, because you may find out, wow, breweries is having a really huge change within this particular area, or a growing industry within this area. So that might be something to kind of think about. It could be a story that you could kind of latch onto and think about how is the art contributing to breweries in my area. Those are just a lot of different questions to really kind of think about, and then kind of digging into the data, kind of see if you can answer those questions or find those relationships. All right. Well, I think that's all. Christy, do you have anything else to add?
Just that we do use the default definition, okay. And I just think it's helpful to look at some of the examples, Paul, that are on your website of like actual reports that have been put together using the CVSuite data, just so that you can see some of the data in a real life application.
Sure. And
what I can do, blog posts that you've done and toolkits that it would be great for the districts to access when they have time. Okay.
Well, what I can do following this, I'll send you, Christy, links to some of these reports, some of those toolkits. I'll also pull a list of all the default codes as well, and share those with you, and you can distribute those to everyone here on the call, as well as the other districts who couldn't attend today.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you all, again, taking the time out of today to learn about the Creative Vitality Suite. And I just want to let you know that I'm available here to help you through any of your creative economy needs, or answer questions that you have. You can contact me. I'll share that information as well with Christine. You feel free to contact me. I love to talk about data, and I can help you with any types of reporting or questions or projects that you might be working on related to the creative economy. So thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Paul. Bye.
You're welcome.